Okay.
Hello, and thanks to Jim Steck for joining me on our KJA Meet the Artist today. Jim, it's lovely to have you on here. As you know, we've had a series of interviews with some of our artists, KJA artists. But your work is so full of energy and such great fun. I just love the modern retro cartoon feel that you've managed to create over the years. To me, it shows that hugely influenced by characters and cartoons and yeah, that sort of thing from the past. I mean, I know when I grew up, there was a lot of that sort of stuff about. It would be great for our KJA and White Light NFT community to have a bit more of an insight into you and what makes you tick, and all the avenues of your creativity. So welcome and thank you for joining me again.
Well, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate you having me.
You're very welcome. How polite are we?
You're very polite.
How long have you been illustrating? And you don't have to answer that if you're sensitive about it. And
No, not at all. Not at all. I've been illustrating for about 25 years. Prior to that, I was a senior art director at two advertising agencies here in Orlando. And for about 10 years, those two careers overlapped. So I was doing my full-time job during the day, and I was doing illustration at night, in the morning, and on weekends.
Yeah, just fitting it
in. Right. So it got to the point where I had basically like two full-time jobs. So I needed to quit one because I also had a young daughter. So I basically quit. I left the advertising agency like in good terms, and I just started doing the freelance illustrating full time at that point. And I had some really great agents that got me some really cool work, so it really has paid off.
Yeah, no, fabulous. And how about your background, your family, and things? Are they creative?
My sister, my older sister, is a just retired art teacher in the Buffalo School District.
Okay.
She's probably the only one that's artistic. My brother showed me some stuff he's done, and he's not artistic. And yeah, so it's just me and my older sister that. Now she's more fine arts.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're the only two.
So where did your creative bent come from then? Where's that sprung from?
When I was a kid, I didn't do art at all. I lived and died for sports.
Okay.
All I did is play sports. All I want to do is watch sports.
Yeah, me too.
Good. So I bet you it's soccer for you.
Everything, anything and everything.
Okay. So, I was just a kid that doodled on the side of my pages, and little drawings and stuff like that. So I became the artist kid in school, even though I wasn't trying to do that. But I've always just loved drawing little cartoons and stuff.
Fabulous. And how would you describe to anybody that's watching this your style and the areas that you specialize in?
Well, you kind of brought that up earlier. It's the modern retro style. I love doing that. I would say I specialize in character design. That seems to be the big way where a lot of my work is.
Yeah.
And it's all digital. I do it all in Adobe Illustrator, and I'll bring some of that into Photoshop to add effects. Yeah. And I'm kind of a dinosaur because I still do it all with a mouse. I don't have a tablet. I don't have a pen. It's all with a mouse.
And it's not even wireless.
And
it's not.
No, it's not even wireless. I've had wireless ones, but I'm just comfortable doing it this way. So
okay.
And one of the reasons is I'm left-handed, but you do my work with my right hand because when the computer was first set up for me at the advertising agency, the mouse was on the right-hand side. So
to adapt.
Right. So now if I try to use I do have a tablet. If I try to use that with my left hand, I don't have the feel for it. So that's kind of strange.
Yeah, that's so you're sort of ambidextrous, but not.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I'm a bad ambidextrous. So Mhm.
It's, being left-handed has always been supposedly a sign of great creativity. Some of the greatest artists of all
Mhm.
time have all been left-handed.
I
So
love being left-handed. Yeah.
yeah, so using a different side of your brain, I think, to
Mhm.
the rest of us right-handers. So over the years, do you think the style and content of your imagery's changed?
Absolutely. Before I got on the computer, I didn't do a lot of freelance art, but what I did was more of a hand-drawn Disney style, with
Okay.
the ink and brush and then airbrush and all that stuff. It wasn't until we got the computer set up and the guy that put up our computer says, Jim, one day you're going to be doing all your art on a computer. And I'm like, no way. So, so after a while, I started playing around in Illustrator and I thought to myself, wow, I'm going to, I'm going to do my next illustration in Illustrator. Um, and kind of do that more retro Nickelodeon style. And once I got that mastered, it really took off. So at
Yeah,
that point, I could then send samples to agents and show them what I can do. And that's where I kind of
yeah.
that kind of let it off.
That was
My
probably
my
quite a
career.
painful learning process, though, wasn't it? I know
Mhm.
when I
Yeah,
went from drawing stuff to then first using Illustrator, it was painful, especially
yeah.
back in the day when it wasn't
Hmm.
a
Remember the first
sophisticated
illustration
art.
I did was had a ton of stuff. It was an illustration of a guy at his desk with all his files and books and everything all over his desk. There were a ton of, and it took me forever to do it. And then, like the next week, I realized, wait a second, I never knew about layers. Well, they have layers. So it would have been so much easier to organize all that stuff if I knew there was layers. So I
Yeah,
had one layer with like
everything on.
50 things. Yeah, and I had to keep moving forward, move to back, send to back.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So yeah, this learning curve, but I love it. I love Illustrator.
Yeah. Now you've got the hang of it.
Hmm.
So, what or who has been your biggest influence over the years?
Well, my biggest influence, and this goes back to when I was a kid. Um, I always liked that mid-century modern look, and UPA Animation Studio started doing that in the 50s
Yeah, yeah,
um, because of budgets and because of just new way of thinking. The Disney style was kind of not a hip style anymore. So UPA started doing these really clean, almost like graphic design characters.
yeah,
And I loved those. And then when I was a kid, this is before my time but when I was a kid, I'd start watching reruns of the early Hanna-Barbera TV shows, which
yeah,
was Yogi Bear, Huckleberry Hound,
yeah,
Flintstones. And, that was all TV animation, which had no budgets.
yeah, yeah,
So in order to keep budgets down, they had a character designer named Ed Benedict. And Ed designed all the characters that you're familiar with from the early Hanna-Barbera stuff. And he designed them in a way where they'd be very easy to animate.
yeah, yeah,
And they were just neat. And to me, they were just neat little graphic designs. And I've always loved that style because I really can't do realistic stuff. So I always loved that stuff. I loved the really clean backgrounds that they had to use back then
yeah,
for budget reasons. So
yeah.
that was kind of my influence.
Okay. And I guess that's also your inspiration, I presume.
Absolutely. Hmm.
Okay, that's fantastic. Do you I ask this question of everybody is have you got a favorite time of the day to create? A
Well,
lot of the
well,
artists tend to be night owls for some reason. I don't know whether that's the same for you.
well, I am a night owl because, for the longest time, I was working at a full-time job during the day.
Yeah,
So I had no choice to, come home and just start working at night. Um, in fact, I still kind of do that now because I do have a full-time job working for a publishing company. So I'll do a lot of my work early morning and at nights.
okay, fantastic.
And back, it also was great back before cell phones and social media that the only way you can get to talk to somebody is through phone calls. So At night, I felt it was easy to work because there weren't any phone calls. Nobody
Yeah.
was calling then. So,
No distractions. I still find that
mhm,
now that I get more done in the evening than I do in two
mhm,
whole days, just simply for
absolutely.
that reason. Um, so, what would you say are your top favorite three pieces you've done over the years?
Well, the three I guess I'm proudest of is number one, I got to do a whole Happy Meal promotion for McDonald's. Normally, McDonald's, their Happy Meals promotions are tied in with movies
Yeah,
or
sure.
TV shows or a line of toys.
Yeah, a whole
But this
license.
particular, right, draw license. But this particular month, it was Halloween, and they were just handing out Halloween buckets filled with little candies and toys. So there was no tie-in with another outside company. So they just needed somebody to do all the graphics and characters for that whole promotion. So I got to do that, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
That
that's
to me
great.
was like, and I'm pretty sure this isn't a bragging thing, but I'm pretty sure I was the last independent illustrator to do anything for them for their Happy Meals. So that was kind of cool.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. It's,
And the other one is, I've always loved Nickelodeon magazine. That kind of fits the style I do and I
yeah,
love. So it was really cool when I started getting to do work for them. I did work for them for like about 3 years, and then they went under. But to me, that was like the holy grail of magazines.
yeah,
And I
yeah,
really, really just love doing that. So that was probably the second. And the third would be a children's book me and my wife produced and printed, and it's called Little Rhino Has No Horn. It was just an idea we threw around one day, and we just kind of sat on it for a couple of years until somebody says, this could be a good story. So we wrote it, we got it published, and it's won an award or two. So we're really proud of that.
no, that's amazing.
That's something we both got to work on. So my wife's a writer.
Okay, a great team then.
Yeah. We met in an advertising agency, so kind of.
Oh, okay, so yeah, the whole creative
Mhm.
runs
Yeah.
through. So how, with your skills now, how do you continue to develop and keep current?
I take a lot of training on like LinkedIn Learning and Udemy. I'm constantly taking classes on new ways of working in Illustrator. Plus, I'm learning Procreate, and the last year or so, I've been working a lot in Animate and After Effects. I'm
Oh,
just constantly learning new effects, and even with Illustrator, I'll just go on, and look for new tricks in Illustrator, new tricks in Photoshop, and you learn so much stuff. You realize that no matter even though you've worked in Illustrator and Photoshop for 20 years, you probably know half of what's available.
sure.
So I'm always just kind of learning new stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing about the whole CSS suite is
Hmm.
that there's more than one way to do
Right.
something. There's probably 10 different ways. There's no right or wrong. It's just the way that
Hmm.
you're familiar with.
Absolutely.
Um, it's no, it's a very well, they're very powerful tools. As you say, we only skim the surface normally.
Right.
So moving over to the white light NFT side, what's your interest in NFTs?
Well, as you know, I'm very interested in NFTs. When I first, I don't know, a couple of years ago when they first came out and everybody was hot over NFTs, and they're people are spending a lot of money on these little, pixelated drawings and stuff. I'm like, what is this? I don't understand this. And so I think I mentioned this to you in my last interview with you is I just got the NFT for Dummies book and just started from the ground floor and tried to understand it all. Plus, I've watched a ton of YouTube videos. And every time I watch a YouTube video to learn one thing, it mentions two or three other things I never heard of. So then I got to go to a video to learn about them. and I was getting very frustrated. So I figured I'm just going to, I know I can do these. I'm just going to start drawing up a set of NFTs. And then at some point, I will learn how to market them and present them and sell them. That's kind of where you guys came in. You know, it was perfect timing when you guys came in.
Yeah, perfect storm, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
Well, your sort of diverse range of NFTs will hopefully soon be available on White Light NFT on the Launchpad.
I
So
hope so. Mm-hmm.
yeah, watch this space. Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, and also, just to understand a bit more about how you work and your inspiration is a revelation, really. And especially the UPA stuff, I get that completely. Sort of, I guess we're similar ages and
Mm-hmm.
work some of the same stuff. So yeah, I can see why that would resonate to somebody with your talent set. But real pleasure to talk to you today, and thank you so much.
Well, thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it, and I look forward to working with you guys and getting these up and going.
We will talk to you very soon, and thanks again.
All right, thanks. Have
All
a
right,
great
take
day.
care, Jim. Take care.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.